on.
Come on, fish!
Ah, I got it!
Come on! No bitey for me.
Aww.
Oh,
We're
wait.
supposed to be doing something right now.
Are we?
Fuck! We're supposed to be recording the letter.
Oh, fuck.
Catfish! Oh,
I'm not supposed to be here.
hello everyone, and welcome back to 4 Pixels. Coco and Kimi are here with Flayflay and Buttons. We are continuing the letter.
And we're all dead.
And we're all dead.
We are all dead. Confirmed. Yep.
Do you think she's
Dead?
She
Yes.
was reported missing 3 days after.
Oh shit, I called that. There was a ruckus at the precinct the day her family filed it. Threats were naturally given at the lack of progress days later, desperate ones. Her family's willing to shell out all the cash they have just to find her, to no avail, unfortunately. Officer Benjamin has been in a bad mood ever since he spoke with them, but what can he do? What can we do? He's tied. We're all tied. There's only so much we're able to do with everything that has been shoved into our hands recently.
Why
She
is
still
everyone
hasn't been
tired?
found. It's already been a week.
I think they mean like their hands are tied, so like they, aka
No,
we
I
can't
know.
do anything. Oh, okay. Or maybe they're just into kinks. Maybe they're all into what's it called, shibari or whatever. The
Yeah.
sexual kinky tying.
There's no kink shaming in this playthrough.
Oh, the kink shaming.
I'm gonna shame you if you're into
I
Luke.
wasn't kink shaming. Maybe Ashen's into being tied up
It would not surprise
and
me.
spanked.
Ooh.
Let me
probably
find
is.
those 4 Luke Ashton fanfictions and let you know. It's the most horrifying shit I've ever seen.
Wait, did you read one?
No. I just found them and was scarred just from knowing they existed. But if it means finding out dirt, I will subject myself to the horror that is people don't know how ships work.
Don't tell her that I wrote one of them.
Did you? Wow.
No. I
would've
would
fucking
be
left.
bullshitting.
I would have fucking left this LP. Just fucking disconnected.
Okay, never mind. I didn't know. Don't make threats like that. I'll follow up.
Alright, so who wants to bet that Madeline Williams is somewhere in the house, obviously?
Or
He
dead.
might be in the dungeon.
Ooh, dungeon.
Sex
If this turns into
mean, there
fucking
were-
darkest dungeon.
I mean,
I'm
there
down.
were other voices that we heard, apparently, if I remember correctly. Like, Marianne heard other voices down there, so...
Yeah.
Yeah,
More than just the tape recorder.
it was kind of ambiguous whether that was the witch or whether that was other people. I'm kind of thinking it's other people.
Yeah.
I suppose we'll
Is-
find out.
Isabella makes no further comment aside from a nod. Instead, she sits back on her chair with a distant look in her eyes, her hands balling to a fist as she struggles with her frustration? Or maybe it's anger? But the moment doesn't last too long. Soon, her grip loosens and she folds her hands back on her lap. Her expression, however, it's one I've seen too many times in the mirror. What does one say to a person burdened not by one loss, but many? Who carries it in her shoulders like a badge of shame? I've yet to find the answer to that myself. Until then, the only way is forward. Press on to see where our attempts at fixing our mistakes might lead. And despite my own doubts, a glimpse of that look on her face is enough reason for me. I can't just give up. There's too much at stake, too much to lose. With a renewed focus, I continue. On the third and last sheet, I spot another one. Beatrice Wilde, one I recall from the newspaper obituaries. Died of a heart attack. A letter of correspondence expressing condolences to her family confirms as much in her files. Passed away at age 74 in her sleep.
She's at that age. It certainly could have been a natural death.
Right? I'd like to believe so. But 3 more letters turn up when I rummage through the stack, and it leaves nothing more than a foreboding feeling in me. They're all addressed to the families of clients who have passed away in the past week. Regardless, these go into the pile of things worth looking into after our visit here, along with the Williams info sheet. There are just so many names, so many faces, each one I've seen that day, and here I am wondering if they're all right. It isn't a selfless thought that brings the question to mind. Rather, it's the logic that if more of them are still alive, the more people I can choose to question. Nothing's concrete yet, of course. These are just speculations, but we're making progress. Once done with the sign-in sheets, I stash it along with the growing pile to my left and pull out as many of the other documents Isabella has already prepared for me. We're working through the employees list now, those who have been assigned to the mansion. Because if Isabella was to be believed, if what she's seen and what happened to Rose Cooper is because of that letter, I need to know everyone who has possibly read it aside from the 3 of us. If they've been noticing strange things too. For all I know, these may have just been a terrible coincidence. Although the thought of that starts to diminish as we dig into BRC's company files. 15 minutes later, the stack closes close to my elbow has risen from 5 to 21 different dossiers. Client and employee documentation, people who have either visited the open house or worked on the property in some capacity since the letter's discovery. Turns out there were 2 more employees who handled the mansion directly, aside from Cooper and Isabella. Christian Sy, the realty specialist, and Mark Julius Jean-Marie, the estate appraiser.
This C guy, he was in custody just the other day.
Really? Sir John has been looking for him. He stopped reporting to work a few weeks ago. Are you sure it's the same person?
Yep, this is him. Folks at the precinct said they went to his house after a noise complaint. They found him just acting all crazy. Had to take him in when he started getting violent. He kept screaming about a woman.
Dun dun dun!
Dun dun dun.
Immediately, she stiffens. I don't want to bring it up or imply connection to Isabella's story, but that is exactly what happened.
It was driving the guards mad, but he didn't last too long in there. A few hours in, and he just started bashing his own head against the wall, and, well...
Ooh.
It was messy, to say the least.
Ooh, why didn't you
Imagine how batshit crazy you gotta be to kill yourself by repeatedly bashing a...
My question is, why didn't anyone intervene sooner? Like,
Yeah. Like, that takes a
usually in
while.
those cases, yeah, usually in those cases when someone starts, like, self-harming in a cell, the guards are immediately in there jumping on it to stop them.
It could also depend on how violent he is. I mean, think about the bath salt that happened in Florida. It took a lot of
Ooh, you're cutting out a lot.
Uh-oh.
It might just be because I'm dying.
Oh.
It might not actually be my internet. But think the bath salts case that happened in Florida. It took a lot of cops to eventually get that guy down because he was just so out of his fucking mind. That could have been the same issue here. Think about it. It's a holding cell, low priority. They probably have like 1, maybe 2 guys on it max.
Still, I would think someone would sooner intervene or call for help. kind of thing. I don't know.
I mean, I
It
could see this
sounds-
happening in an American prison because they don't give a shit about prisoners once they're in, especially if they're any
Yeah,
shape
but
or
this
form.
this is Britain. This is the
Britain is
UK's.
also really racist.
I mean, yeah,
Mm.
but we have no inkling on the race of this guy.
Yeah, it sounds like at this point, just from the different interactions with Ashton, what the hell is his name? The Ashton's boss.
Officer Lee?
Yeah, Officer Lee. And just the tidbits that you kind of get from other characters that the cops are stretched to their breaking point
That's
because
true.
of this serial killer quote
Yeah, that's true.
that's been going around. So I could see there's a real big like suspension of disbelief going on with this one, but I think they've set it up that the suspension is not as far as we think it is.
That's true. It's very likely that it was just a matter of they didn't have enough people to really intervene. So by the time someone got in there, the guy was already beyond help.
Yeah.
And head trauma is a funky thing. 'Cause
Yeah.
you can have the smallest injury and get the most fucked up. So
Yeah.
Oh no, we had no idea. Is he okay? HR just marked him as AWOL because none of their calls would get through.
He's in the hospital right now. I heard they're putting him into a psychiatric ward as soon as he recovers. He's still a bit unstable.
oh, so they did restrain him. Okay, cool.
I was here in silence, just wondering, like, you three just instantly killed the guy, and I was like, did he die?
With
I mean, the guy.
that's a fair assumption.
That, and
He was like-
also, he was like, it's a mess, so I'm just imagining brains scattered everywhere.
I mean, blood is
I'm more
messy.
so imagining like skull cracking kind of stuff because if he's bashing his head hard enough, then that's
Yeah.
likely.
Those cinder block walls are not fun.
I was here just silently waiting for the game to confirm my suspicions.
Okay, hopefully the dog is done barking.
Woof.
Oh, you may.
Don't antagonize it.
Stop being a furry.
I think you're saying that's the wrong person, but okay.
Oh my god.
Someone else takes the blame for being a furry.
Dragged.
It's a bit too late for that, though.
Oh man.
I mean, Hime's avatar is a Kemono Mimi, so
She's a furry. We're 3/4 furry here.
listen, she's furry light. She's furry light. She only likes the ears and tail.
This coming from the scaly.
Wow.
Who is also still furry light because I still only go for like human with animal characteristics as opposed to full on like anthropomorphic humanish animals.
I love how,
I'm-
like,
first
not
you
even 5
terrify
minutes
me.
ago I said no king shaming, and we just fucking went for the drag.
Yeah, you and Coco, man, fucking kink shaming all over the place.
This is
Hey,
why Hen
hey,
Coco
kink
loves
shaming
me
is my
most.
kink shaming is my kink.
Let's king shame Coco.
Oh lord.
Oh shit. We're great at
Je-
this.
Jean-Marie, on the other hand, his employee file notes his date of leaving and even when his final payment had been given. Along with it, there's a letter to his family about the appraiser being found dead in the office. Holy shit.
That's some wild shit.
Damn.
He's dead. No, you can say he's dead.
No, I think there might not be. He might not
Wait,
be.
I think it's
I
pretty
think he might
open-ended,
be in the
Hime.
dungeon. Listen, they left it pretty open-ended. He could be in the dungeon. He could still be alive. The body could have been a fake.
Oh lord. The ultimate.
Tin hatting. Fucking tin hatting over here.
Oh man.
Communication is hush-hush, and there's mention of compensation if they don't talk about it to the media.
Is that
Wow.
why they're going bankrupt? They're just paying off all these people?
Oh yeah, they're just paying off all these
Christ.
families. Inspector Abigail has often scolded me for not reading the reports on a regular basis, but I try to keep up to date as much as I can. When I do, I make sure I'm aware of the gist of what's going on in my city. This never reached the police's ears, or the health and safety executive.
Do you know about this guy?
One glance at her says everything. They've hidden it from the media, they've kept it from the police. It's not surprising this will also be a secret from someone of Isabella's position in this company. Fuck.
Rose was looking for him. Last week. We haven't heard anything from him either.
Oh.
Until now. They never mentioned this to us.
Business going under and someone dies while working here? Of course they want to keep that quiet. It's bad publicity. This whole thing is just getting freakier by the minute. Nevertheless, I hand off the files for Isabella to make a copy of.
The pages with their names, addresses, and contact numbers will do. We'll start with the ones who live within the city.
Sometimes there are things you can't really just brush off as a mere coincidence. In my line of work, once a pattern pops up, it's only right to be suspicious. Especially the thing with C. It hits too close to the stuff my own friends have been telling me.
All of this?
It's considerably thinner than the one she brought in, yet somehow the way she hugs the folders close to herself makes it seem heavier. Like she's hanging on to it in the same manner one will latch on to a lifeline.
Only the noteworthy ones.
And those might still be alive. Might. She doesn't need to know that.
We can't check the outside contractors, but the guys with the direct connection to BRC and the people who attended the open house should be enough. We don't have time to see how everyone's doing, especially if what you said is true.
For a second, she appears about to argue, then quickly decides against it and hides it away before anyone reads the question in her face. Then, in a too abrupt motion, she turns towards the copier and gets to work. Soon, only the machine's constant thrum fills the air around us, while I keep myself busy cleaning up the mess we've made. The lack of talk is awkward, to put it mildly. Disturbing at worst. I've gotten so used to letting her just babble away whenever it's just the two of us. Hopefully it's not a spoiler.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, it's not a spoiler. To confirm their suspicions, Isabella helped Ashton break into the Briar Realty for an office that night. There, the files they found revealed the real deal was the mansion's sale that was unknown even to Isabella, and something possibly more terrible.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
No shit! Isolate that soundbite for your soundboards, kids.
I could tell, however. She wants to do more. She wants to fix this mess herself, and that desire makes her antsy. But at the same time, she's learning how not to be impulsive or stubborn, exactly as I've told her yesterday before agreeing to any of this. Or maybe these so-called changes have always been with her. Dire situations have always pushed people to change, after all.
She's also essentially betting on zero. Like, if we assume that it is her father who died, that was her entire purpose for being here and her entire purpose for being at this job.
Yeah.
So literally the only thing she has left is this letter.
And stopping whatever it's causing.
Yeah.
Although seeing this happen in front of me only makes it more difficult to find the proper things to say. In an atmosphere this tense and charged, what is left for us to talk about? Certainly not the news. What's worse is when you only realize all of this in... Speaking is hard, English is hard. Why do words? What's worse is when you only realize all of this in hindsight, right after you've already ran your mouth off.
You know, for a house your company seems to be in a hurry to sell, they still made quite a fortune out of it. Look at this. 1, 2, 3... 6. Are you sure they're planning to give your entire share for this? This isn't a small amount, especially given the usual cut, and their accounting department isn't in the greatest shape either.
Even if they don't, it's not like someone still needs it.
Oh. Rip. Wow. Really, Tori? Too soon.
Fuck off. And there's the reason why people don't let me talk. Too real. Too fucking real. Fuck off.
Big fucking mood.
The game is fucking calling me out. Jeez, Buttons, did you break this fucking game knowing I'd say shit like that? Goddamn. Silence once again descends throughout the room, denser compared to the ones we've shared tonight. Behind me, I can still hear her movements, sharp and precise while she feeds the originals to the machine. Then, with one last click, all of it stops. Her feet shuffles lightly against the floor when she moves away. Something creaks softly, probably the table, as she settles her weight against its side. By this time, an apology is already at the tip of my tongue, but...
Belle, I'm...
Papa's gone, Ash.
And there it is.
There's the shoe has finally dropped.
Only took 2 episodes.
Well, if we could shut the fuck up, it might have been.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah.
The other person who like I first learned about this game from finished this in 40 episodes.
Okay, but
Fucking
did they
rip.
have 4 people who also like to talk and like make
That-
commentary on the game and not just read it?
That's what I'm saying.
Listen, if you don't want people to talk, then you gotta play it yourself.
Like it's
This
not
is
a
why
bad
you-
thing,
This is
but
why
we
you come
do.
here.
It's not a bad thing. Like I enjoy that we talk, because then yeah, it is just reading it. But
Yeah.
That's pretty funny, actually.
I mean, if you just
Actually-
wanted a read through of it, you could go watch like a silent playthrough, like a no commentary playthrough. But like half the reason people watch this shit is because they want the commentary.
Mhm.
or they delude themselves into thinking they want it. Either way, they watch.
Well, they want the commentary either to argue it or to fucking flame you. Listen, I know
Still,
how the internet works.
40 episodes for a silent run through of this game. That's a pretty game. Like,
Oh yeah, it's not a
There's-
short game.
no,
How long
I'm
were the episodes?
They were like 20 minutes.
I'm legitimately impressed by the level of content in the game.
And that was just one run through.
Yeah, right. Like, wow, yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
It's fine. Within those scant few seconds, everything between us shifts as the gravity of her words sinks. Right then and there, something harsh and immovable rises between us. It's the ghost!
God, fuck off, Ghost. We're trying to have a moment.
I know, right?
Maybe she wants to join the moment.
No.
Maybe she is the moment.
Maybe she wants to be the death in the moment.
Wow.
Death is something I'm familiar with. Almost 10 years in the police force, and it's impossible not to be acquainted with it. But this is different from those dead bodies we examined in forensics. A far cry from the victims we found on a bad investigation. Those I could easily distance myself from. No emotional attachments, no need for pretenses. Yet somehow I still find myself grasping for things to tell her. Any words of comfort that'll dull the pain. Because even without looking at her, her grief feels palpable enough, her pain an immutable weight hanging over us. So gently I offer,
Bottom one.
just stay busy or tell me about him. I'm leaning towards the bottom one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When?
Yeah!
Yep. Knew that was coming.
Huh? When what?
Your dad. I mean, when did you find out?
She doesn't answer. Not immediately, anyway. For a long moment, the hush simply stretches out before us, spanning across the seconds we let pass while we both simply stand there, waiting. Eventually, she exhales. Lightly, muted enough that I might have missed it, had I not been paying attention to her every movement.
Yesterday? Around 3 in the afternoon there? Mama called. She told me he passed away in his sleep, and I guess I can take comfort in that, huh? That Papa wasn't in any pain when...
She trails off, releases another ragged breath hidden underneath her chuckles. Each one's mirthless, heavy with nothing but sorrow. Then she falters into silence, and for all my attempts at lightening her burden, I'm suddenly at a loss.
Hug her, you dipshit.
I was about to say the same thing.
Reassurances could only do so much when her only reason for staying here has suddenly been taken away from her. A hope yanked from under her feet right after it was generously given. And without that, without the one person who pushes her to endure all of this shit that we're going through, she's going through, means nothing but a struggle. What does one say to a person fraying at the edges, slowly wearing thin and breaking? Are words even enough?
Just hug her. You dumbass.
What right do I have anyway? I cannot give her anything apart from the lies that changed me as a person, and affection she may or may not even want for herself. Because no matter how easy she has wormed herself into our lives, how immutable her presence has become, her own heart will always yearn for something else. For home.
Tell me about him.
Huh? About what?
Your dad. Tell me about him. Anything. Just talk. Say anything you want. Doesn't matter what it is. I'll listen.
Silence again, as if she's testing the weight of my question. For what purpose it is, for a reason I can't even say right now. After a while, though, she starts, reluctantly, her voice hitching, faltering, and stumbling on each syllable as she chooses her words. A rough start, but soon it steadies. And along with it, to keep company the stories from childhood and memories she's fond of, are the tears.
No.
Hey, achievement unlocked. Good job.
My darling baby!
Oh. I suffer.
Despite this, in spite of the grief choking her words off, the hurt closing her throat, and the sobs racking her lithe form, she continues, like the mere act of speaking is a relief in itself. A release. She tells me of her father, the very person who named her, how she looked up to him, how she was a bit of a tomboy growing up in her attempts to imitate him, and how the man encouraged her to pursue what she really wanted. Perhaps even the only thing she ever did for herself, having grown up not wanting anything more than food to put on their tables.
He told me I don't have to listen to them. That I can do what I want.
You can do whatever you want,
Every
baby.
day, he'd wake up at 4, Ash. Because he'd earn more that way. And every time, every single time, he'd give them to me. Whatever extra he earned, he'd hand them all. So I'd have something to use for my paintings.
Oh no!
And you know what? Back home, just a good tube of paint costs almost as much as what we spend for food the whole day. But he'd always set something aside. Told me he wanted to see my paintings in a museum one day.
I'm not crying, you're crying.
You're
Put a
crying.
tissue warning on this episode.
I'm like actually crying.
I am
Yep,
too.
I'm glad I have tissues nearby to blot my eyes, because, thank. Props to the voice actor for all that emotion poured into this.
Mhm.
She is such a good voice actor, it's so true.
Yeah. Real props to her. She pours all of it out, every little thing she loved and admired about him. Like this, it's easy to see why she has gone to such great lengths for him. Why she abandoned her dreams, why she went against his wishes, just to grant him another chance at life. Others will say it's her warmth that draws people to her, or her cheer. Neither are wrong, but neither is the whole truth about her either. Because those who have never bothered to look beyond the surface will never see it, see her. See someone earnest, someone who has always meant well, despite her underlying stubbornness. This is how she loves. Warm, steadfast, unflinching. You never meet many people like her, not in my line of work, not with the kind of people I've had to deal with. Always with something to hide, always with something to lie about. Eventually, when you run across too many of them, you change, you become like them. In many ways, for a lot of reasons. She's the kind of person I want to be and be around with. Who made me feel I am still worth something.
He didn't want me to leave. Said, begged, I could finish my studies first. In the end, I couldn't even grant him that one request. I'm a terrible daughter, aren't I?
No, baby, no.
Ow.
You're not.
Huh?
Oh, Ashton. You stupid fucker.
You're not. I can't speak for your dad. I haven't even met the man. But I know you're not.
I'm not entirely sure where I'm going with this. The remark just came out. Now I'm stringing all of these together as I go. But one thing is certain. None of what I'm about to say is a lie.
The Isabella I know is a total klutz, but I've never seen anyone work as hard as she does. She's the type who wears her heart on her sleeve, though it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's always in the right place. She's intimidated by a lot of stuff, but she knows how to appreciate the smallest things in life. Frankly, you've caused us no small amount of trouble since you barged into our lives. But when I'm with you, all of my worries seem trivial.
Heat has already crept up my face when the turn this whole thing is about to take registers. Before I blurt out the rest of it, I declare feelings I'm not ready to reveal to anyone, much less her. My hand comes up to smother the rest of it. Though embarrassment quickly takes the reins before I can completely clamp my mouth shut.
And I'm pretty sure Zach and Becca think the same way.
You idiot.
And with that, we will end this episode right here. Thank you guys for joining us, and to see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Y'all, I don't care what you say. Ash is my fave.
I'm really starting to like him a lot.
Bye!
So my best friend of 18 years is named Ray, and I just came back from 2 weeks on vacation visiting her in Denmark for her wedding. My parents, being the overprotective people they are, were always trying to get in contact with me, but of course I'm in a different country. So he goes to her father's house. First of all, he doesn't even remember her name. He doesn't recognize the father. So the way he goes up to Ray's father, he's like, I'm looking for the people who used to live here. They had a daughter, and my daughter's her best friend, and her parents split up. Yeah, so he just like... That's what he uses to recognize them, by her parents splitting up.
Oh my god, your father is a menace.